based off a column that I wrote on offthehooksports.com, is Tennessee's defense the story of the Vols season so far? So let me throw some numbers at you that I think that you'll find pretty impressive that have somehow flown under the radar. Tennessee tied for number 2 in the country with 4.4 team sacks per game. The Vols are 4th in the nation with 9.4 tackles for a loss per game. Tennessee's football team isn't perfect. The Vols listed 21st in the country with 308 yards allowed per game, but we know some of that's going to be inflated, even if the Tennessee's offense isn't what it was last year. We're talking about Tennessee, perhaps, if they can prove it against better teams, being one of the better defenses in the nation. And you wrote the headline. Is that the story of the Vols season? I think it is, the fact that you're addressing those needs. So while some might think of this as a transition year, especially with the quarterback position, Tennessee is showing growth, even if the record doesn't end up to be 10 regular season wins this year.
Yeah. And so, Dave, you know how I am. I hate totals numbers when you judge teams. I hate total defense. I hate total point. I mean, because that doesn't break, you don't know how many possessions there are in a game. It depends on so many things. I look at points per play, points per drive, yards per attempt, along with points per game. So just points per game on the surface. Last year, Tennessee gave up 22.8. This year, they're giving up 17.8. 5-point improvement. However, you and I would agree teams are having fewer possessions against Tennessee now because Tennessee's not doing the quick scoring as much as they did last year. Well, Tennessee last year gave up 0.298 points per play, so just under 0.3. This year, that number is down to 0.254. That's a significant drop. That's on points per play. So their defense is highly efficient. They went from 5.3 yards per play allowed to 4.4 yards per play. Now, here's the most notable one, and no one's talking about this. They've gone from allowing over 7 yards per passing attempt to allowing under 6 yards per passing attempt, and they have the 13th ranked pass defense in the country right now in terms of yards allowed per pass attempt. Remember all last year when we talked about how bad their secondary was? Their secondary is dramatically improved, and no one wants to point this out. And I am fighting a lot of people in our community, Dave, who still hate on Kamal Hadden. When you were off last week, I did some digging. Kamal Hadden is top 10 in the nation in coverage grade right now of all defensive backs.
No, yeah, I saw that you wrote that, and I think that people are going to throw schedule at you, as Rocky Tom has already. Yes, but you ultimately have to remember where Tennessee was a year ago. I mean, they were like at one point they were in the 118s or the 100-teens in defense. I mean, this is
and they also just faced the best quarterback
defense
they're going to face.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they did. Spencer Rattler. Yeah. I mean, aside from an SEC championship game or a college football playoff or a bowl game. Yeah. I mean, as far as who's actually on their schedule, I wouldn't argue with that. Let's not forget at this time last year, Tennessee did get a win over Pitt with a defensive effort, but that was never the mantra. That was never what was actually going to happen, other than maybe the Kentucky game. Those two games, which other game was Tennessee's defense the star? I don't have another one.
I don't really have Vanderbilt, but it's Vanderbilt. And so, yeah, I mean, and you're right. It's like, okay, this point last year also, so, you want to bring up Florida. Anthony Richardson threw for 400 yards on Tennessee last year. Who's better, Anthony Richardson or Spencer Rattler? It's Spencer Rattler.
Agreed. No, agreed.
Yeah. And what did Tennessee do to Spencer Rattler this year? Just Spencer Rattler alone. What did Spencer Rattler do to Tennessee last year? And what did he do to him this year?
No, fair. I think that Tennessee's defense is the story of the season, as long as Joe Milton continues to work out. The story, if he struggles at any point and he reverts to form, then the quarterback position is going to be the issue. But when you look back in the 2023 season, I think that you'll say when you're putting together Josh Heupel's time at Tennessee, you'll look back and you will say that's when they learned to play defense, is 2023.
Yeah, I agree. And remember, I was bringing up for a lot of times last year the defense was underrated because a lot of those points that were given up, Alabama and South Carolina notwithstanding, A lot of the times Tennessee surrendered a lot of points. It was late in the game and they were letting teams come back that were just throwing it all over the field. But there's no denying that it's better this year. And you're right, 2023, this is going to be the year that, and this is a big thing for me, Dave, that I think separates Josh Heupel from Lincoln Riley. They run similar offenses, almost identical. But the big difference is Lincoln Riley's been a head coach now since 2017. So we're talking he's in his seventh year as a head coach and has never had a defense to this point, ever. And we're looking at Josh Heupel and we're seeing, okay, his third year at Tennessee, and he's got a defense that is being it's not the same as USC. It's not. Tennessee's defense is much better.
No, and you mentioned Haddon too. Is it time, pardon me, for Tennessee secondary just to be looked at as different than it was last year? How many times were guys covering for other guys? Now that could speak to coaching and Willie Martinez, and we can go down that path at another time. But how many guys were covering for other guys because they were out of position? I think that was happening a lot more than you think. I think Tennessee has some more semblance of order. But ultimately, what they have is they have a defensive front that's going to create pressure. So you don't have to cover guys for 4 and 5 seconds. You got to cover them for 2 and 3. The chains are more in your favor nowadays. First down is the most important down in football. Don't let anybody tell you that it's third or fourth. First down sets up what you do. You pick up 4 yards. Statistically, on first down, your odds go through the roof of converting on a 1st and 10. So,
there's a reason. There's a reason. For instance, the Titans have done this for 5 years. They don't even put Derrick Henry on third down. They rely on him to. The whole offense goes on what can Derrick Henry get me on 1st and 2nd down. And so, you're right. First down matters the most. And also, it helps that Tennessee, unlike USC, has a defensive coordinator who I think understands exactly how to play and complement this offense.
I think it should be exciting for Tennessee fans that you have a coach that does care about defense, because Travis says Lincoln Riley could give 2 flips about defense. I think that's true. That defense is horrible. That USC defense is bad. To be a national title contender, that's about as bad as one side of the ball can get. Maybe like Tennessee last year, who almost made the college football playoff and had a bad defense. Tennessee Cider Company, the original hard cider of the Smoky Mountains. Use the promo code HAT. That's HAT to receive some free swag with your cider order, available most anywhere in the U.S. It's tncidercompany.com, tncidercompany.com. Use the promo code HAT, and you can get that just incredible cider anywhere and get a free hat. How cool is that? For Caleb Calhoun, I'm Dave Hooker. This has been a presentation of Off the Hook Sports. Hit that like and subscribe button. Give us a grade on whatever audio platform you may be on. We would love for you to recommend us to friends and more.